What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Orioles Today, and as always, I am Sean Ferguson. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode and to the channel. If you're a fan of this episode, please throw a crab cake at the like button. And if you're a fan of this content, please subscribe. Get yourself daily notifications for all of these daily video drops on all things the Baltimore Orioles. The offseason is still progressing pretty slowly. You just had the GM winter meetings. A lot of things were said, analyzed, overanalyzed. Mike Elias said what we already knew, and those were the positions that the Orioles need to focus on this year. Starting rotation, back end bullpen, and a nice veteran bat there, possibly in the outfield, middle of the lineup type hitter. We have the money to do it for sure. The Orioles finished below expectations last year. They still have a lot of young talent at their core for this team that you could surround them with that should make us contenders next year. So only time will tell. I keep saying the qualifying offer period ends November 18th, so just give it a few more days. And I really think that this will snowball big time, and you'll start to see, if not just the Orioles, other teams as well start to make these bigger moves. One thing that the Orioles have been doing since the moves have kind of slowed down is they kind of got off to a fast start, re-signing players, waiver wire, and that is reshaping their clubhouse when it comes to their coachings. Their coaching staff is starting to round into shape, which is great. As, like I just said, I really do believe that the free agent signings are going to start to pick up as well as trades. And to have your managerial staff there set in stone, and these players know who they are when they come in, is a great thing. So Albernaz is starting to get his guys in there with a Dustin Lin, a Jason Bourgeois, and a Donnie Ecker coming in. And the sources are still confirming this and in what capacity, but it is said that Buck Britton, Drew French, Ryan Klemek, and Mitch Plasmeyer will be returning to the Orioles coaching staff next year to go with those brand new names that just came in, as well as the brand new manager, Craig Albernaz. We don't know in what capacity yet. That has not been revealed. It could be close to the same capacity that they were in last year, or it could be a coaching position move. Only time will tell. As soon as they make that official, I will let you guys know, and we will talk about that. But it is great, like I just said, especially since you're getting ready to start to sign new players and trade for new players, to have that coaching staff intact and ready to rock and roll for that period. It makes a big difference. So the Orioles are shaping that out right now, and that gets into some more names that are being thrown out there. One name that was thrown out there for the Orioles in a position that's going to be of need, which we will touch on today, is the closing pitcher position, especially since Felix Bautista, who knows, just the injuries have just piled on him so bad, which is sad because he was so dominant when he was healthy and he was such a great story, but injuries have taken their toll on him massively, and no idea when he'll be able to come back and just how good he will be when he does come back. One of those guys that has been talked about as a possible suitor, as the Orioles will need a back end bullpen guy, is Devin Williams. Devin Williams is a crazy story because he was one of the most dominant pitchers in a 6-year period with the Milwaukee Brewers and was named, as one of the top 5 best closers during that period. And he gets traded over to the New York Yankees as he was entering the final year of his arbitration. Why not? Great move by the Yankees is what it looked like. Then he goes to New York and has his worst career year. It was so bad that they ended up moving him to be really their setup guy for the rest of the year, as he just could not. It wasn't what we were used to seeing him, especially since he was so dominant. He carried a 1.83 ERA over the 6 years with Milwaukee, and then he comes to New York and he just gets lit up with the ERA just south of 5. I believe it was hovering around the 4.79 mark, and you could see where his strikeout rate dipped, but it was still decent to go with his velocity. It just did not all come together for him. And he has come out and said that 2026 is going to be a bounce back year for him. The Yankees did not offer him a qualifying offer just because they were probably afraid of just how high that ERA was. And I do believe other teams are going to be nervous of that as well. But with that, you are still going to have teams with money that are looking for that closing pitcher. They're going to throw it at him. And the Orioles could be one of those teams. It's said that you could look around a 4-year, $70 million deal for him. He's already come out and said he's looking maybe 5-year, $100 million. That's a lot. Yes, he was great over that 6-year period, but that's a lot for a guy whose ERA was as high as it was last year, and especially for a team like the Orioles who are trying to bounce back. I know nothing's a sure thing. We all thought the Orioles were going to have a better year, but they finished 12 games below 500 last year. So nothing is a sure thing. He absolutely could come back and kind of get back to his old self. He is 31. He's not getting any younger. He's not old, but he's not getting any younger. And that's a lot of money to throw at a guy who's coming off a down year in his worst career year. So it'll be interesting to see if they're truly involved. And with that, if he is seeking that kind of money and teams are willing to go get him, that's going to put the Orioles in a bidding war. And I know a lot of you guys down in the comments are talking about bidding wars with the Orioles and not being on their side. And you're absolutely right. They're not used to being in that position. And there's teams with more money out there, like the Yankees and the Dodgers, that, if the Orioles are coming in here, they can easily go up here and counter the Orioles in a heartbeat, especially if that's the guy that they want. So the Orioles have to be conscious of that as well. So other teams could go out there, come over the top of the Orioles and snag him. And the Orioles have to be conscious of that as well, because that's a lot of money to give up to a guy who's coming off a year that he did. Definitely hopeful that he could come back and have, the type of season that he was having this first 6 years in Milwaukee, but you're going to have to pay for that hope. So we'll see if the Orioles do that. I know somebody will do that. We just don't know if it's going to be Baltimore. And talking about the closing position, I've seen this down in the comments, and this is something that I've been thinking about for a little bit, so it was really cool to see you guys talking about it as well, and that is Grayson Rodriguez possibly moving to the bullpen and possibly into that closing pitching role for Baltimore. And a lot of people are just worried about where he is health-wise. It's kind of the Orioles keeping it closer to their chests. They're kind of saying what we want to hear. Shout out to at Not Me for bringing this up in a couple of videos ago of saying, why isn't anyone talking about this? You're absolutely right. There's not too much talk about it. But Grayson Rodriguez, man, he had a decent 23, but he had an amazing 24. He just improved so much that offseason. Went 13-4 with a 3.86 ERA in 24, and he looked to be the guy in 2025 and kind of lead that charge in the front end of our rotation. And just injuries just absolutely derailed him. Never came close to making an appearance in 2025, and it was so sad to see, because he was kind of the guy we were looking at to be the front end for all these other guys that were going to kind of, fall in the middle of that rotation. And he never sniffed the regular season just because of injury after injury. And we don't know what to expect in 2026. We're hopeful, and the rumors are circulating right now that they're going to ramp him up for a spring training debut, but that's just talk. We have no idea. But why not keep that in the back of your mind, especially if he is going to have to be on some sort of pitch count as he's still in that recovery process? Why not try him out in the bullpen? He's got great command. He's got great velocity. And I really think he's someone that could thrive in the bullpen. Now, a lot of you guys agree. Again, you were talking about this down in the comments a couple of days ago. I think he could thrive in that role. Now, I'm not saying keep him there forever, but he's someone that, especially you're going through this change, and try it out in the spring training, see how it goes and kind of how he feels as well, because I'm sure he wants to get back to a starting pitching role as well, but just kind of see how he does in the back end and see how he does when it comes to closing pitching. I think he would be someone that would be dominant, and it would be a lot less wear and tear on him throughout an entire season, and it might be something where he is able to stay healthy through an entire season because he's not pitching as much. And looking at what he went through last year with all the injuries, just how fragile he appeared to be with that elbow, it's not a bad idea. So I'm on board with you guys. I think it's a great idea. Who knows what they're eventually going to do? Who knows who they're going to bring in? That could change everything. But I think it's something to keep in the back of their minds, and they might already be thinking about it. And that's try him out in the bullpen, try him out as your new closer, and kind of see where you go from there. I think it would help him out in the long run. And yes, the Orioles, something else that Mike Elias touched on, the Orioles need a nice veteran bat, especially in that outfield. That was one of the worst outfields in the big leagues last year. I talked about him a little bit, but more about the bigger name in free agency for free agent outfielders and Kyle Tucker, but that's Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger was not offered a qualifying offer. He wasn't eligible for one, and he's interesting because yes, the Orioles need a veteran outfield bat, and he's someone that can play every outfield position, which is important to remember. Was just, I'm still going to be haunted from last year, but all of the injuries that the Orioles dealt with last year, especially in the outfield position, especially with Tyler O'Neill, having a guy that can play every spot there well defensively, that's important to keep in the back of your mind. And also a bat that you can throw in the middle of that lineup. He's a guy that hit 272 with 29 home runs last year. We didn't have a bat that hit over 17. So to be able to throw a veteran like that in there, that would be a big splash for Baltimore. Now, he's going to be a little cheaper than Tucker, as right now everyone's saying that Tucker's the number one outfield free agent. Cody Bellinger falling right into that number 2 spot. And it is a thin outfield market right now for big-time game changers. So being able to snag one of those guys, I wouldn't be mad with a Cody Bellinger signing. The more that you look into it and the more that you see just really how much the Orioles need a nice veteran bat in the middle of that lineup, and one that could play the outfield as well as Bellinger does, that would be great. They're able to attack starting pitching, getting a guy or two, someone for the back end of that bullpen, and giving money to a guy like Bellinger who's been proven in his career. He's coming off a decent year, and he'd be a nice game changer for the Orioles. I know a lot of you guys are fans of him. Others aren't. Let me know what you guys think about him down in the comments. Again, only time will tell. It's really going to start to snowball soon, and I'm ready for it. I'm really excited for it, and I can't wait to cover it for you guys. But thank you so much for tuning into this latest episode of Orioles Today. If you were a fan, again, throw a crab cake at the like button. If you're a fan of this content, subscribe. Get yourself daily notifications for all of these daily video drops on all things the Baltimore Orioles. Thank you guys again so much for watching. As always, I am Sean Ferguson, and let's go O's.